So where were we? Stereotype spiders and the worst episode of New Who. Huh. What could turn this around? What episode of Doctor Who Series 11 will break this bad run?
The Saranga Conundrum.
I'm as surprised as you are. This one was a joy. You know I love the Saranga Conundrum. Okay, not love, that's a strong word. You know I moderately liked the Saranga Conundrum. From the moment this episode gets going, Jodie Whittaker just seems to be giving a completely different performance. She's annoyed, she's clumsy, she's being selfish. Oh hello, is that the Doctor I see in there? It's definitely something different, and the episode does proceed to kill off its most interesting character, but then it replaces it with this guy, and I love the thing. Not only does it occupy a physical presence in every single scene it has, but it is also just something different. I'm getting Lilo and Stitch vibes off of this thing. I love that it's a different kind of threat. The supporting cast may not be the most interesting. Hey, the main cast aren't even that good. But I was into it, because it had a pace and a personality I had not seen in the previous 4 episodes. The Daily Mail obviously piped back in saying, "They're feminizing men." Because of course they fucking did. But that's ridiculous. It's played as a joke in the episode. This is an alien man. The characters in the episode respond questionably. And this is literally nothing out of place of any given Russell T Davies story. It's just, hey, everybody's looking for a secret agenda now. What is sci-fi? Still, it's good, but it's only as good as any given Rusty Davies story. It's a 7 out of 10, which for this series is a little bit of a high point.
Demons of the Punjab.
After 5 weeks of wanting something, anything, different, here it is. And I think it's one I'll revisit a lot, as the tone and the idea of it is something that's really grown on me since watching. Here's where we talk about the 50-minute time slot. With previous New Who, we always claimed that we could do with an extra 10 minutes at the end to clear up loose ends and deliver a more satisfying conclusion that wasn't a big red button. And the show listened. Except now, those crucial extra 10 minutes are now in the first act, which makes every episode long enough to be dull and the ending short enough to still be too abrupt. You fixed the problem, robbed us of 3 more episodes, and did not fix the issue. That said, Demons of the Punjab is also the only story to not suffer from a Deus Ex Machina this year. It's a very gradual, performance-driven, atmospheric tale, because it's telling a very different kind of story. And that kind of maturity is more than welcome here. The stakes of the story were refreshing and a welcome surprise. This is the closest to a pure historical I think we're ever going to get. Also, what was nice is that there was nothing PC about it. This is British history. The only thing that could be political about it is the fact that we don't get taught it in schools. Seeing a character as radicalised and brainwashed as Manish is poignant, and probably the best performances this year. Here's the thing with political correctness. Even an SJW Doctor Who is still a new take. I think once we look back on this finished era, the historicals and especially Demons of the Punjab will stand out as highlights. Mostly. Sadly, this country can be silly enough to think political correctness means brown people. I would love to see a Daily Mail columnist sitting down watching this episode with his fish and chips and being pissed because he has nothing to work with for the hate article tomorrow. Say what you like about political correctness. The possibilities for historical episodes has literally opened up. This episode alone makes historical episodes seem big again. Consider me excited for whatever they do next, because this show does British history and sometimes American. Just for entertainment's sake, this is better than Wars and Authors. It's a change for the better. The monsters this week aren't monsters at all, and I really like them. The idea of them is lovely, an assassin race who just got the bigger picture. But the twist around them doesn't really land. This is a brilliant script. Please more, Vinay Patel. Please write more.
Kablam.
This is an idea just made for contemporary sci-fi. And I hoped the Doctor Who would finally use its left tits agenda to actually take more than a potshot at Amazon.com and similar companies. And the episode does delve into the unethical practices of them, and then almost entirely excuses it. You see, it's not the system that's evil, it's the people. Not sure about that moral, guys. I'm pretty sure the system was made to be oppressive and to work in a very specific way. The Doctor doesn't even flinch when she hears about the 10% of organics. Nah. Imagine Capaldi in that position. Imagine Eccleston. I think this episode has amazing potential and flakes out of saying anything actually interesting. At the very last second, it gets cowardly. It frames the Resistance as the villain by focusing on one extremist, whilst HR saves the day. Whilst tactically, they've made the system sentient. Don't you see? Amazon is alive and it's her and it's calling for help. Helpless system. I don't know, I think we could have been on some really interesting territory here. You can call this series liberal all you want, but it didn't go all the way. It didn't even go half the way or even make the effort. This episode came out the week before Black Friday. Do you think maybe that had anything to do with the useless ending of this episode? I do. Also, this Doctor is such a pacifist, right? She's the icon of goodness? Sometimes she is. She's the one who detonates the Kablam men. It's her who locked up the spiders to die a slow, agonizing death. To reference a friend of mine, now I'm convinced the whole premise of Doctor Who has been turned upside down. Not because it's trying to be diverse, wow, 2 lesbians, but because now it's about someone who shows up and does nothing or sides with evil. It turns out there actually is one consistent trend with 13th Doctor. She's generally ineffective. It's in this episode that she finally gets her big "I'm the Doctor" speech, except it's effectively to middle management in an office. This episode is good, technically, but it frustrates me because it could have been great.
The Witchfinders.
Cute moments, terrible plot. This episode was never going to be great, because there's literally not one thing I had not seen before done better. There are countless other stories that handle the witch hunts, and this one brought nothing new to the table. We're just going through the motions. You know, every single beat before it comes, with a threat that's more generic monster of the week, even for this series. Alan Cumming should have been in this series years ago, but even then I struggled to call him the highlight. I'd probably give that role to Bradley Walsh's hat. In fact, because this episode gives us so little plot to go off, seriously, fuck the final 10 minutes. Let's do a rain check on the characters. Ryan and Graham are both likeable. They are absolutely fine. Both of these boys get one very predictable arc each, but even for a predictable arc, by the time the final 2 episodes come round, it still feels unearned. Whilst Yaz does draw the short straw. She is a soundboard. Every single episode she's paired off with one of the side characters as exposition, as a plot device, to set up other characters. Hey, tell me 3 distinct characteristics about Yaz. Which is a shame, because I really like Mandip Jill. She seems expressive, funny, and would probably be great companion material if she wasn't constantly shafted. And then there's the part of the fandom I follow on Twitter who are convinced she is everything. To a certain segment of the audience, I can confirm that Yaz and 13 are the main reason they're still watching. And hey, who am I to take away the fun out of shipping? But, come on, you knew you loved her before you even met her. You're using her as a queer accessory, and you know it. These characters aren't fully fleshed out in the way we would expect a Doctor Who companion to be. That said though, they have been providing consistent good moments. There's times in the terrible Witchfinders where I feel like they're a family. When one of the team has to console one of the others, I believe it. But that's not a great script, that's some great acting. Because again, Doctor Who is being treated like a high-end ITV drama. I haven't seen anybody else even acknowledge that yet. But Chibnall's run does seem to be conflating Doctor Who with, say, Broadchurch, and I'm not entirely sure it works.
It takes you away.
I know that conventionally, this is not a well-plotted bit of sci-fi. In fact, looking back, it's more like 3 different episodes in one. But I can say with reasonable certainty, this is the best episode I experienced in season 11. It's an episode I know is flawed, I know it has its issues, but it's one that I sort of didn't think my way through. I felt my way through. For all the people raging at the idea of an abstract episode with talking frogs and insidious dimensions. It didn't make sense! Boy, I'd love to sit you down with an art house film.
The Battle of Ranskor av Kolos.
Wow, terrible name guys. Terrible title. Doesn't reflect anything in the story itself. I was very hopeful for this. The first 20 minutes are really well done, atmospheric. I'm like, whoa, can Chibnall actually write Doctor Who now? Because damn, I know that man can do a finale. And my verdict? And that is my professional, published, critical opinion. I'm a film critic. I felt nothing. On paper, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with this story. It's paint by numbers Doctor Who, with confident performances and great production design, and apparently just nothing else at all. I've watched this 3 times now, and I get bored every single time. It's not often I tune out. Again, the morality of these episodes seems to be a bit skewed. Yeah, I'm gonna be the better man. Locks a mortal villain in a tiny pod for the rest of his life. It would have been more humane to kill him. But you don't even care about that, because Bradley Walsh is such a convincing, brilliant actor. What he does with his face through all 10 of these episodes almost makes up for the lack of any discernible character. The episodes were not exciting, the companions were not full of personality or vibrant. It takes until the finale for any of the characters to even try and challenge this Doctor. And yet I can't bring myself to hate it. It's a solid 5. And in a way, mediocrity burns more than something I can laugh at or something I can fall in love with. Season 11 for the most part is just sitting there. It's harmless, inoffensive, uninspiring, and not very politically motivated at all, actually. I mean, on the surface, sure, but at its core, no more than any other season. I mean, have you watched this show? This Doctor is absolved of the vulnerability and depth of her predecessors. There's a term for this. Galbrush. Galbrush is the idea that once you introduced a female protagonist, there are suddenly a whole list of things you cannot do. Video game producers intentionally make their leads boring male avatars. The idea is that once lots of prying eyes fall upon your female protagonist, and see her do all the same things her male counterparts would do, a divided audience will decide she's either offensive, a stereotype, a conspiracy, or not feminist enough. As if there is no way to win. But that's not the show's fault. That's the failing of the public, not the media creators. You can blame Chibnall if you like, but although he's let me down on this one, he's still a man I admire. I look up to him. I think part of the blame lies with us for there even being a stigma of a female Doctor in the first place. Imagine if, and go with me here, Michelle Gomez was the first female Doctor, not the Master. She steps out of that TARDIS unapologetically. Her gender is genuinely irrelevant. All the same mannerisms, all the same quirks, except, less genocide. Just a confident performance, a declaration that basically says, hey, fuck everybody who's going to have an opinion about this. Now, here's some sci-fi. That approach would have just made the world of difference. And instead we have Galbrush Whittaker, who I'm still kind of waiting to meet. A new Doctor personality could have been so many things. In the new series we haven't had a timid one, a cowardly one, a schizophrenic one. There are so many different aesthetics, personalities and traits to take the Doctor in. Imagine her Doctor in a Victorian gentleman's suit. We haven't had one of them since the classic series. Imagine if they'd stuck with her insecurities. The fact that this is all new and scary and uncertain. Imagine if this was the Mechanic Doctor. Or the turn your enemies into your friends Doctor. The series presented chances. And there's still time. It's stupid to just write her off. After just one season? Yeah, if we did that, we wouldn't have McCoy, Peter Davison, or arguably Capaldi. Doctor Who's been fine before. We get through that. It's fine. The show will probably be completely reinvented next week. But I feel like I've been robbed of a Doctor personality. That's what I get out of this show. Character. And for such a character-focused series, supposedly, I just feel like we've had a lot of character and not a lot of personality. Thank you for your decency.